Alright, so two things to pay attention to with this car. The lack of suspension travel, because it sits so low and has next to no travel. And the super excessive negative rear camber. It's basically -10, -10. So just keep those two things in mind while watching this. You heard some scraping on that gutter entry because the chassis is literally bottoming out. Yes. We'll have our test driver today, Sevi, send it into the gutter here on this next one so you can see how much bottom out action happens. But with a tune and raised suspension, this thing should be a monster. There we go. Oh, missed the gutter. I didn't tell him to do it. Okay, do a gutter run, Ricky, next one. Ah. I told them you were going to do it, but then I forgot to tell you. But all in all, I do like this car. I just want to get it tuned from the outer box. I'm not a huge fan of the outer box tune. Oh, what did we hit? The wall? It's the first time a car has reacted like that.
I think I got too close to the tire. I hit this.
A little bit.
I hit this.
Oh, we hit the plastic barrier. Oh, the tire popped that tire
I have
barrier.
to edit that one out.
I'm still rolling. That's okay, this is good. It's no big deal. That was just because we got a little too close. Try one more, I'll stay here. Okay. And then we'll talk about the car. Just want to illustrate the low ride height due to the suspension setting, which keeps the travel super minimal. Oh. What happened?
Died.
Just died?
Oh, the battery disconnected.
Oh, probably from that accident.
Probably.
Okay, I may edit this out, I may not, we'll see. People like this kind of stuff. All right, let's set up.
Yeah, it's real.
We'll get a setup going here again. There she goes, she's alive. Okay, gutter run test. We kind of messed.
Really? One more try.
Oh, that was a nice one, but it just didn't dip in. There you go. Yeah, did you hear that? Yeah. Well, there's me gutter run test. Okay, bring it in, Ricky. Perfect. So, there it is, the Yokomo SD 2.0, aka Super Drift. Well, on that one little sendo accident where we clipped the wall, we knocked the battery terminal and then the car shut off down the way. So, just for now, I'm going to unclip the battery so I can illustrate the steering and stuff. But yeah, the first thing you notice, that's all the suspension travel from the box. So you'll want to do a tune. It's very limited. Like, I mean, like, let me just hold up. There, you see that? very limited. The car drives like all right, even dare I say decent. It's what I describe as medium spicy because the front end does hook up quite good, but the rear end is, well, just, that's a lot of camber. That's over -10 pretty much. When I measured it, it was about -10, and then I measured it again, and it was a little over -10, but that is the stock setting. It's like this front and rear. So the front does hook up pretty good in terms of the tune, you know, wheel flat at the right spots, that sort of stuff, good Ackerman geometry setting. The one-piece slide rack from the MD works good with the YD2 mounting parts and the oversized bearing there. The steering crank from their BD touring car also seems to work nice. So the front end is working like all right, it just lacks travel overall, so I'm going to tune that out. But from the box it drives all right. I just call it medium spicy because it is a little skittish in the rear with all this camber, and when you send it a little bit, it goes. So from the box you definitely got to drive it, and if you're an experienced driver already, you can get quite a lot out of this car. As my test driver today, Sebastian, said he actually likes this car quite a lot in terms of the way it was feeling to drive. And even he felt after a light tune, especially with the rear end, we can get the rear end to hook up like a lot better. But he's really impressed with how the front end is working right now with it out of box. He says he likes the amount of front grip and the way the car drives from the front currently, especially on our polished concrete track, which is quite low traction. And yeah, so then, well, as I was saying when we were driving it, the first main thing was the low travel, or low suspension travel, but the second thing, was the camber, as I was just mentioning. So those two elements combined kind of hindered the car out of the box. But I know once I raise the suspension up, give it some proper travel, and reset my some of the car's suspension geometry, like the camber and maybe some toe-in settings or stuff like that, because we've got the D&E blocks back here and the bushing, so we can do a good amount of tuning right away. The springs seem to be all right. I just want to give it some more travel. But because of the low travel, you'll notice here on the bottom of the chassis, you may be able to see it somewhat here. It isn't super visible, but because it's been bottoming out quite a lot, especially on those gutter runs or little bumps we have randomly along the track, there are some scrapages and some little marks on the chassis. There's a couple areas here where, okay, some of it might buff out, like some of this might just rub off, but you know, some of it might not. It's not a big concern for me, but if you want to keep your chassis pristine, you can always put a chassis protector on it, or just not do, not do gutter runs as we do over there. But I always love to send them through the gutter and can never resist. But it's also a good test of chassis stability and how well the thing drives and how well it can handle off-camber terrain and situations. So, it's always a nice test. But overall, I'd say yes, I do like this car. The tune out of the box, definitely not my cup of tea, but like just observing it after I built it, I already knew what I was going to do tuning it wise. So I mean, the combination now from the 1.0, from aluminum plastic decks to carbon, MD1 slide rack with YD style front end and mounting, the steering crank there, and then the gearbox, which has been adapted from the MD, the Master Drift as well. So yeah, MD gearbox, MD slide rack, the different chassis plates, and as well, you may have noticed, see that separation there? This is a two-piece setup, so you've seen that from the out-of-box video as well. And yeah, you get a good amount of hardware and stuff with it, aluminum-wise, big bores, that sort of stuff. And I mean, yeah, it's nice. So I just call it medium spicy because it is a little skittish at the bum at first, but it does have good front grip initially. And this we're running on C tires today. I didn't even throw P tiles on this, so this is running on an older tire, so to say, and it runs pretty good here. Just out of the box, not my cup of tea, but definitely like any car, you're gonna have to tune it to get the max out of it. Most of my cars don't stay box stock like ever. When I build them now and do these videos, I leave them box stock so we can figure out how good they are out of the box and how long you may want to live with an out-of-box tune before tuning it. But this one right here, I definitely want to tune this right away because I think this car will have big potential. Once it already has big potential, but I mean, once I tune it, I feel like I can extract quite a lot of potential, especially with the newer gearbox sort of design and where the motor also sits right pretty much over top of the rear axle right there. Previous YD2s, it was more where the battery was, more forward, high position, but more forward facing, not top sitting. So that's good too. Like what if I even put the rear ESC mount here from Yokomo, put that there, and then move that back there? Well, you know, maybe it'll slap even harder. But most electronics are rear biased anyway on this car, having the servo moved back as well in the rear position there. Yeah, the big potential. I can see the worth because now it's got carbon decks, and they brought the big bores back. They put the axle spindles back. Carbon deck, aluminum slide rack mounting piece, aluminum suspension mounts, aluminum shock towers, aluminum transmission case. Yeah, the suspension mounts back there as well. And what else? Was there one other piece they threw in this? There's some aluminum spacers here and there too. They do give you that as well. The turnbuckle, the long turnbuckle for the steering. So basically, a lot of things they deleted out for the LTS the Super Drift LTS model, the 1.0 LTS. They've put back for this car. So this isn't so much a weight shifty car as per the way it looks right now, but you could probably do it. I feel like I could. And yeah, excited to see where this goes. And at some point I'll do a comparison between all three of the cars right now, the SD 1.0, the LTS, and this, just to sort of compare them all. And at least now I've got all of these built. I'm going to try and tune them. Oh look, I forgot to tighten that screw. Pay no attention to that. But anyways, yeah, big potential. I want to tune it and go from there. And then the other major thing I noticed before I sign off here, the body post geometry from front to rear has been a little thrown off. And no, it's not Nezzo being silly or missing the fact that I can flip these body posts around either here, or just spin them where they are because they're an offset design. It's not that. I tried all that, and a lot of previous Yokomo bodies that are pre-drilled for this geometry would not drop on to these body posts, mostly in the rear. I feel like it's the rear that's changed, not so much the front. The front seems about the same, but I feel like the rear has shifted a few millimeters. So bodies that I've drilled for pretty much all other YD2s and even the rookie drift won't drop onto this one as easily. So I'm gonna do a little bit more science experimenting, try a few others, but the first few I dropped onto all the other cars I've been testing in this past year. They didn't drop onto this one as easily, so it was a little concerning. But I really don't think it's the body post positioning here. I have a feeling it's the way this shock tower meets this transmission. I feel like maybe I could space this and get it, or something. Something is off. That's all I noticed. If you've got an SD 2.0 and you've been driving it for a bit or tried a few bodies yourself, let me know what you think. If you've got one as well, yeah, let me know. If you've tuned it, what you've done, if you've left it low in Stancy Boy mode, or if you've actually tuned it and done some other things, changed some bits, whatever. Let me know. Drop me a line in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and you'll see this again on track at some point soon, and comparison with the other ones, and maybe a little shootout or something, but definitely I'm going to tune this one and keep this one going, because this one I feel like has a good amount of track potential. Just got to get the rear figured out a little better, but yeah, other than that, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Bye now. Stay tuned for the car running with the body on it with a little bit more commentary. Okay? Bye-bye. so much camber in the rear, a little skittish. Well, even up front too, but quite excessive in the rear, as you can see. To me, it's quite the stancy boy. Ooh, gutter, oh, just barely. Knocked the bumper into the rear wheels. That's what that little sound is. And now a gutter run check. Did you hear all that scraping? That's because of the low suspension travel, the next to no suspension travel. We'll talk about that. Well, we will have just talked about that, I mean. It kind of just skates away there through the gutter because of the low travel. It just can't grip it up. But with a tune, that will be fixed.